Good morning, this is JC, and I want to comment on the post by Rachel Maddow on Elon Musk and his team's high-tech prowess. I wanted to talk about several things, but first of all, I'll start off by talking about how high-tech Elon Musk is. Elon Musk did not invent the Tesla. The Tesla vehicle was invented by two inventors in the garage at their house, one of their homes, and the Tesla prototypes, two of them, were bought by Elon Musk. So he did not invent the Tesla. He probably didn't have anything to do with its further technical development either. He just bought it and then built a company around it. He's probably good as a businessman at building companies, but he's pure shit as a technician. I mean, he got his start when his daddy gave him $25,000 to start his kiddie software company. And the kind of programming that you do when you're a teenager to get a game up or to get some other non-useful program up that you can sell is not very much. Most of it was done in either machine language or Visual Basic. Probably he did it in Visual Basic, and he has no idea about how to really write code in more sophisticated and advanced languages, such as Java, such as SQL, such as Perl, such as C++. Well, I'll give you an example here. In St. Louis, we had Anheuser-Busch Brewing, which is now owned by InBev, but back in the beginning of the company, there were two families, the Anheuser family and the Busch family. And what happened was that the Busch son married the Anheuser daughter. Well, the Anheuser family were brewmasters from Germany that came over and immigrated to the United States. The Busch family knew nothing about brewing beer. So when the marriage was consummated, it became Anheuser-Busch. And what happened was eventually, when the Anheuser family basically lost their interest in the company. I don't mean interest like their interest, but like their financial interest in the company. And it was taken over by the Busch family. It still was Anheuser-Busch, but the Busch family in St. Louis were thought as the master brewmeisters who were making great beer. They weren't. They used the Anheuser recipe. So the name Busch being synonymous with beer is a joke, and it's like the name Elon Musk being synonymous with Tesla. Doesn't work because Musk doesn't know a damn thing about the technical aspects of Tesla, and the Busch family, who ran the Busch company for so many years, didn't know shit about brewing. It was their brewmasters that were left over from the old company that carried them through. And so another thing is Elon Musk and his crew of super babies don't know the first thing about handling government systems. And I'll tell you why. I worked for 10 years, Department of the Air Force, for the Department of Defense. And I know, as a matter of fact, that languages now that are being used, like Java, JavaScripting, and so on, are a shift from the old systems that were written in COBOL, PL1, and FORTRAN, those three programming languages. And I'll guarantee you that Elon Musk doesn't know a damn thing about writing in COBOL, PL1, or FORTRAN, because he's probably never done it, because he was probably a Visual Basic baby. I started out my career in 1981 writing in those three languages, and I spent years writing in COBOL, in PL1, and FORTRAN, and I also taught people how to write computer code in COBOL. So when I was at Washington University in St. Louis, I taught a 6-week COBOL programming class. And I'll tell you, there's things that if you don't know anything about them, you're going to get in trouble. And it's just like that 1875 error code that was put in that Elon thought was 100 people being in the Social Security database for 150 years because he's too stupid and too ignorant of the language to understand it. I'll give you a perfect example. SQL, the query language. SQL has certain peculiarities. If you don't understand them, you're going to get in trouble. And if you look at databases, we're moving away from databases like Oracle, but just take Oracle, for example. If you look at Oracle and you put in a blank, that blank has a different mathematical coding for that field than if you just put a space in it. So if you leave it blank, it's going to be coded one way mathematically. If you leave it, if you put a space in it by pressing the space bar, it's going to be coded another way. And there's also a thing called a null. If it ends up getting a null entered in the field, it'll be coded a third way. IBM has ASCII. ASCII is the coding language map. For every letter of the alphabet and every number, there is a 3-digit number that represents that letter or that number. And so if you put in a space, that's coded with a 3 different number than is an empty field. And if you have a null in, it's coded with a different 3-digit number than the other two. And if you don't understand that, you're going to blow up your database right away by neglecting to look at those fields and even the fields that you have open and understand what is in there, a space, a null, or if it's empty. And if you put a null in an Oracle database field, it blows right up when it tries to read the database record. They don't accept nulls. Now, they may now, but back in my day, they didn't. So that's the kind of stupidity that people like Musk takes as something different. And I'll tell you one other thing. You know the heat humidity index that every night in the summertime on the news they tell you, well, it's this hot, but because of humidity it feels this hot? Well, I wrote that along with another guy back in 1979. I was working for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, and I worked in the programming language FORTRAN, and we wrote that indices, and actually we wrote 7 different indices, I don't know which one they actually used, in the FORTRAN program that the two of us put together. Okay, the National Weather Service still uses FORTRAN, and when I left the air base where I was working in 2010, the weather group on the air base was still coding in FORTRAN in 2020. I'm sorry, when I left in 2020, they were still coding in FORTRAN. And they probably still are coding in FORTRAN. And I doubt if Elon Musk has any fucking idea how to write a lick of FORTRAN code. So, and he's probably looking at these systems in the IRS and the National Weather Service and all these other old departments that the coding is either in COBOL or FORTRAN or PL1, and his people and he have no idea how to read that code or use it, or how, God help us if they change it, because they'll blow those systems to hell and back. They won't work anymore. They'll just be total flops. So God forbid they try to change any of that code because they don't understand it. This is JC trying to explain to you how stupid Elon Musk is. He may be a good businessman, but he's not a high-tech person. He doesn't understand any of the languages that the old government systems were written in. So fuck Elon Musk and his coda babies. And he should take them and stick them in his fucking pouch. So this is JC saying, pot some more Jack and keep on trucking.